Hello everyone and welcome to a Make Photos Great Again photo tutorial. This tutorial I titled Coffee Shop. And the takeaways for this tutorial are cell phone photography, composition, and cropping, specifically the rule of thirds, processing options or cropping, and filters. And the filters that I'm referring to here are cell phone filters. I want to talk a little bit about photo sets and image titles as well. The plan, there was no plan. This was an impromptu shoot. Hopefully you always have your camera with you, and if you find yourself in an environment with a lot of targets, a lot of interesting people or things or views, then hopefully you take your camera out and you capture as much of it as you can and think of your plan on the fly, basically. The Make Photos Great Again photo plan worksheet that I have developed and usually use is great for a shot when you're going to shoot for a particular assignment or some particular goal, and you want to really think out the elements that are going to make it impactful for you, but in advance, and therefore improving your likelihood of success. This is the basic image that I took first, and this is a screenshot off of the camera. I love these two people sitting in front of this sign that says "Gather here with grateful hearts," and it's what caught my eye and made me start looking around and realizing there were some other targets here. So it's what basically inspired me to start shooting. My camera, by the way, is an iPhone 12 Pro Max. I assume that the functionality on this camera is basic to other current models of Apple cell phones as well as Androids. First thing I did on my phone was I did a crop inside the red boundaries. Just eyeballed it. There is a feature where you can go in and crop something to a specific ratio, like 1:1 for a square or 2:3 for a 4:6 format. But at the time I was doing this, I was only doing it for just my own viewing on cell phone, so I didn't do that. I just eyeballed it and did this. The next edit I made, still on my cell phone, is to tone it with a filter that's built into Apple's 12 Max Pro that's called Silvertone. And I really liked the way that this added some drama and impact for me, in that it focused more on the geometry of the composition and the impact of the words on the sign and the expressions on the people's faces. Here's a zoom of that setting slider for filters on the iPhone. And you've all seen this, I'm sure. Basically, this is a row of choices you can make. You have options here ranging from vivid color to black and white and a full spectrum in between. So anytime you take a photo that you really like, I suggest you open these filters and look at them, slide through them all, and give them all consideration to find one that you like best. Or if you don't want to use any of them, of course, that's fine as well. But some of them can make a dramatic difference on the results of your image and give you greater impact, which makes a greater photo. Next thing I did was loaded this image from my cell phone into my desktop and then opened it in Photoshop. Now, the main thing I wanted to accomplish there was a 3:2 ratio crop. I could have gone back and done that also on my phone, but it's just easier for me to work on photos sometimes in Photoshop. Plus, as I mentioned, I had other images that day, 2 other images that I really liked. So I wanted to end up with a set that were similar. And as you can see here, when they came off my cell phone, they were all different sizes because I wasn't cropping them to a specific ratio. So once I brought them into Photoshop and saved them as a 4:6 ratio, you can see on the bottom they're all the same size. The other thing that I wanted to just talk about for a second here is on the photo names. On the top row, you can see that the iPhone names these photos with a date and then an underscore and a number. Not very easy to remember, and it doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form to understand the image that you're presenting. So, of course, when I saved them in Photoshop, I named them Window Seat, Gather Here, and Barista. Those are much easier to remember and add a little bit to the story to tell you what it is that your image is about. This is the final set that I ended up with of 3 images, which is referred to as a triptych when you present 3 individual images together within one frame. So think about this as an actual printed images, and this being a framed photo, and the black parts being the photo mat. So you've got your 3 individual pictures within that image, but they're all presented as one group. The most common sets that photographers use are diptychs, which are 2 photographs, and triptychs, which are 3. But those names of sets go on infinitely, I presume. But they become increasingly harder to pronounce and harder to remember the names. And they're not as popular. The most popular ones are diptychs and triptychs, because above that, if you try to present too many images in one set, then size becomes a problem. Basically, you're losing impact because your sizes are getting smaller to make room to display so many photographs. Even this size image, just notice the impact difference between having it presented as part of the slide and then the full slide. This is much more impactful. And this again is just the naming convention that I used: window seat, gather here, and barista for the individual photos, and the triptych called coffee shop. Thanks for watching this Make Photos Great Again photo tutorial, and we'll see you on the next one.